Awesome. Welcome to the Real Estate Weekly Talk Show here in the same channel, the same, with the same person, but different topic here, right? So today we're going to be talking about, seller finance secrets. So go ahead and sharpen your pencils, ladies and gentlemen. For the ones that don't, that I don't have the pleasure to know you, obviously, come to one of our events. We're having, our meetup is coming up here on May 23rd, is the fourth Thursday of every month. It's called, Bay Area Buying Profits, Buying Properties for Profits. So search us. It's in San Mateo, California, so that I can have the pleasure to get to meet you in person. So anyways, for the ones that don't know me, because I know that there's, there's always people connecting to this, to the talk show, to the weekly talk show here. And I know that you may not know me. I started, and I just want to just briefly share that I started real estate well over 18 years ago, and zero knowledge. It all started through a burning desire. And I come from a, very humble beginning. So anybody can, today doesn't make me no different. It makes me more knowledgeable. It makes me, more wiser through all the experiences that I've had. But keep in mind that what you see somebody else doing, you could do too. So I'm going to assume that if you're here with me today, in this weekly real estate talk show, is because you want to sharpen your mind. You want to sharpen your axe. You want to get, you want to get the knowledge that is going to set you apart from the rest, so that you can start obviously implementing it and seeing different results. Okay. So, today we're going to be talking precisely one of my favorite topics. I've been using seller financing ever since my very first deal, by the way. Can you imagine? I was, 18 going 19. My very first property that I purchased, it was through not only seller financing, but a whole different combination of different sorts of financing. At the time I didn't have credit. I was, I didn't have, a job that I could show for 2 years at least. So I was just, beginning. I was probably, one of the worst borrowers per se for the banking, institutions and things like that. So my only resort was to, get for sellers to seller finance me their properties. And usually, in my case, I started at, going through properties that were, that honestly, there were properties on the hood. There were properties that they were a little bit, hard to sell, and it took longer to sell. Very few people wanted them, but that's not the only, that has changed today. That's not, the only way you're going to get seller financing. Today, we get seller financing basically in all different types of markets, from San Francisco to Peninsula to, East Bay, through Central Valley, anywhere, everywhere you could be, getting seller financing. And we're going to be obviously chatting about that here. Okay. So, so it's very important. I made my notes here, and we're going to be covering 8 secrets today. Okay. So 8 of them. So make sure that you're taking notes. Don't be distracted. I hope that you got your favorite drink so that we can be here together and basically get started here. Okay. But there's questions that you want to make sure, for instance, questions that you want to, I want to go ahead and get started so that it can provoke your thinking. Like, who's a great candidate for seller finance? Who is a great candidate for seller finance? How about, when do you ask for seller financing? Or why is it beneficial to the seller? Or why is it beneficial to the buyer, and things of that nature? All right. So, and it's important to have answers to those questions. And we're going to be unraveling it here in basically here where, in this webinar, right? So let's get started with secret number 1. All right. Secret number 1, know the seller needs or goals at a deeper level. Okay. Very important. And yes, you were probably thinking, oh, Raul is going to talk about numbers and here and there, or or negotiating skills, and we are, but we're very, we got very limited time here. So why is it important to know your seller needs and or goals at a deeper level? Well, when you actually take the time to know what is it that the seller wants to achieve or the need that he or she has, and you become basically all ears for them, they will usually, they will tell you, they will, you want to get to know them very, very deeply. And I'll give you an example. All right. And it doesn't matter if the sellers are being represented by a real estate agent or if you're connected directly with the seller. I always like to ask, what is the reason that the seller is selling at this particular time? What is the reason that the seller is selling at this particular time? If I'm dealing with an agent or if I'm dealing directly with the seller, I will tell, Mr. John, what is the reason that is prompting you to sell at this particular time? And I listen, obviously, to that question. The best way that I know, okay, listen at this, the best way that I know to get to know the seller needs and or goals, it's going to take me, it's going to take me to, make questions. So the more I ask, the more questions that I ask, the deeper I'm going to be able to not only get to know the seller needs and goals, but also connect with the seller or, connect with the agents who are representing the seller, whatever that is. Once I know their needs and I know their goals, then I know how is it that I can present or propose the seller financing aspect. Okay, so secret number one is get to know them better. It's not just about a transaction, but it's about a relation. So it's a relationship. So it's secret number one. Okay. Secret number two is always ask for seller financing. Doesn't matter what their needs or goals are, they are. And I don't mean when I say it doesn't matter, it doesn't mean that we don't care. In other words, what I'm saying is, regardless of their goals and needs, always, secret number two is always, always ask for seller financing. Always, always. Keep that in mind. Always. It's a secret. Why? Because if it's not programmed in your mind, if it's not a habit yet, then that means that secret, it's really going to be forgotten really, really fast, especially when you are in front of real estate agents that sometimes they may not be friendly, or even sellers that may not be friendly. All right. So I always ask, Mr. John, have you thought about seller financing? And then they'll probably ask, they'll say, hey, what is that? And then I'll go on and to explain. It's like if you were the bank. In other words, you will sell me your property and I will make obviously monthly payments on whatever price that we agreed on. And some people get it really, really fast, some others don't. But secret number two is always ask for seller financing. Secret number three is the more you ask and listen, okay, the more you ask and listen, the more they will like you. The more you ask and listen, the more they will like you. Very important, ladies and gentlemen, and I think we've spoken about this, we've discussed this in various, real estate talk shows that we've done, is that this business is a people's business. Is a, you got to develop your people skills. When you do, you'll understand that the more you ask, the more in-depth questions you're asking, the more you listen, the more they will like you. And that goes really tied in to secret number one, getting to know the needs and the goals of your seller at a deeper level. I always like to ask them, how is it that they got, to this, to California or to whatever city, or, how many brothers and sisters, and Let me know if you guys can hear me there. If you guys are able to hear me, let me know. Signal lost. Can you hear me now? 1 2 1 2. Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Hey, congratulations to all of the attendees. You guys obviously waited here for me to come back. I don't know where I left, but I guess I'm gonna go ahead and give me a second. Bear with me for a quick moment. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. If you can hear me, let me know. Where I am is raining so hard that I really, really hope I know that this message is so powerful that even the internet is collapsing. Can you believe that? So it's raining so hard, it's pouring so hard that's probably why the internet is actually, uh, um, uh, you know, uh, leaving us or dropping. But anyways, the message is so powerful that if we don't get through the entire 8 secrets, trust me, it's because somehow, I guess the devil knows that, he doesn't want us to actually really get to know this information here, right? So anyways, if you can hear me now, let me know. All right. Okay, beautiful. Excellent. So we're gonna go ahead and continue. Give me a second. Let me pull my notes again. So secret number 3, I was telling you that the more you ask, the more you ask and listen, the more rapport you will build, the trustability, likability, commonality, and once again, I dive deep. I like to know a lot of people, and I like to hear their stories, and I get engaged on their stories, not because I want to waste time. It's because when you get to know them deeper, then how to help them, and what is it that which direction, which road, which path to take. Okay, so we're going to jump to secret number 4. Be sincerely interested in their goals. Once again, it goes back to be genuine, connect with them. And why is it to me, it's a secret, because long time ago, before I knew this, I was lacking not only the people skills, but if you lack the people skills, you can have the greatest deal in front of you, and if they don't like you, if they don't feel like you're being sincere, genuine, that you care, that you're interested on their goals, on their dreams, on their journey, they'll throw it off right away. Okay, they'll know, they'll understand. So be sincerely interested on their goals. Now, secret number 5, right? Secret number 5 is seller finance does not appear on your credit report. Okay, seller finance does not appear. So let me give you an example. A good portion of my portfolio, I would say it's probably about 20% of the portfolio is seller finance, from properties in San Francisco, to the Central Valley, you name it. And the interesting thing is that it doesn't appear on the credit. So whenever I want to go and get a loan, they don't obviously, the seller will not pull a credit report for the most part. Some of them will, depends if they're very savvy. But up until today, in my over 18 years of career and journey, I've probably seen it once. And that was the San Francisco deal. And it's not like that they pull the credit. They ask me, Raul, you know what? can you provide us just, you know, a credit that you may have? And because I pay a service, I think it's Credit Karma or something like that, or it's free. I think it's free. One is free, but I pay another service. I was able to provide them right away without getting my credit ding. So secret number 5 is the seller financing never appears on the credit report. So therefore, you have, you know, you got your credit untouched so that you can do many other things, right? Secret number 6, seller finance lending positions can be moved rather easy. Allow me to explain. When there's a seller financing, and I'll give you a specific example. There's a 5-unit building that we purchased in Merced, California, pretty bad shape, very distressed. The seller was selling because he was getting ready to retire. He's way too far, about 3 hours away from where the property is. He was trying to do all the maintenance himself, property management himself for, you know, a good portion of 20 years straight. He got, you know, tired of it, decided that he wants to sell. All the property is dilapidated, extremely low rents. You know, when I went and looked at it, I told him that he was so stuck on the number that I told him the only way this is going to work is if you're willing to sell or finance it. And I gave him all the terms that I'm going to go with you on those terms later on. But one of those terms, ladies and gentlemen, and write this, that he was going to start in a first position lien, but that I put a language, okay, that position was to be moved to a second position lien when I come with a refinancement, when the time comes up to refinance. So in other words, and this gets drafted on the deed of trust, obviously gets put into the contract, but then whoever is going to be drafting the promissory note and deed of trust, they got to include that language there. In other words, the language, you know, it should be specific enough that if they're lending on first position or if they're seller financing on first position, it's all great, all super, but automatically upon you, the buyer, the borrower, you know, when you get ready to refinance, that he or she, her position goes into a second lien position. And I may be, you know, talking, you know, too deep here. But what I want you to just understand is that the secret number 6 is that seller financing positions can be moved rather easy when it's a seller finance. When it's a debt or a loan, that it's directly with the seller. And we did it. I'll give you the example. 5-unit building. When we first bought it, he lended $274,500. Okay, and in the language, there was a language that when the time came up for me to refinance, that he was gonna be okay being on second position, and I was gonna get a first position lender. And guess what? When I refinanced, he moved to second position, and now there is a loan on first position. In essence, you know, I pulled all the money back, basically, that I put in on renovations. So that was pretty cool. That's a powerful tool, you know, especially when done right. Secret number 7. Okay, secret number 7 is seller finance can be moved from the current asset to a different asset. Seller finance can be moved, and see, all of this, you can't do that with a regular institutional lender that easy. They want to know when were you born, where were you born, why were you born, your blood type, if you're sick or not sick, if you got money coming in, no money coming in. I mean, they want to know everything, right? When was the last time that you got your flu shot? You know, and I'm exaggerating here, but it sounds exaggerated, but it's really not. You know, I've been refinancing one of my shopping centers. I started it on January of this year. You know, we're on May, and they're barely getting the appraisal done. So just picture that for a moment. 6 months, it could easily go 6 months, and you know, by then the deal is gone, right? Now that's with the traditional regular lenders, you know, and things of that nature. But it involves more to it when you're going with the lender. Now, secret number 7, you can pretty much move it. What do I mean by that? In other words, let's just say as an example, okay? And once again, all this has to be in the documentation. You know, I have a property that basically I can move the debt from the current property to any other property that I own that it's equivalent of value or more. Example, I have a building in San Francisco. It's a 6-unit building that we purchased. The seller financed $1.8 million. You know, it was the seller financed $1.8 million, you know, and basically when the time comes, if I want to move the debt, I can move that debt basically from that specific 6-unit building to maybe one of my shopping centers or to one of my other multifamily properties, as long as it's the same value or more. Are you guys getting that? Are you guys really truly getting that? In other words, nothing changes. The only thing that changes is the property that secures it. That's powerful, ladies and gentlemen. You know, why is it powerful? Because, you know, you could, let's just say as an example, you have a seller that they don't want to get paid. Like in this case, I have this lady that for her is not wise for her to get paid, because if she gets $1.8 million, she's going to end up paying, I don't know, 40–50% of taxes. So almost half of it is going to go in taxes. So if she gets paid, it's not a good thing in this case. So for her, it behooves her to allow me to move the debt to any other asset, you know, as long as she's actually protected by a promissory note and a deed of trust. But see, all of that, it's important to be agreed up front and to be done in paper so that there's, you know, so that obviously you can use that mechanism when the time comes. All right. Now, you know, and although we're not going to dive into every specific little detail, because number one, I use experts personally. When I go through all of this, I bring my real estate attorney who drafts contracts, who knows about lending and things of that nature, right? And secret number eight is seller financing, when set up correctly, give you the maximum flexibility. Seller financing, when you set it up correctly, it gives you, you know, it's like total flexibility. And what I mean by that is, picture this as an example, okay? And I wrote it down because if even in myself, when you know that I know this information, is like, when you're negotiating, if you're not paying attention to it, you know, it's important that you run scenarios, that you practice this. For instance, I'll give you an example. My typical offer to a seller when you know I'm discussing with him about possibility of doing seller financing, I will usually you know, let him know, hey, listen, you know, I would like to do, you know, 5% down at a 4% interest only, 4% interest only payment for 15 years, no prepayment penalty, no due on sale clause, and we'll go through every single one what it means. You know, first position with the flexibility to be moved to second position, no to be able to be moved to a different asset whenever, you know, I so decide or choose. So imagine putting all that stuff. It's language that needs to be incorporated into a legal document. Now, I'm not an attorney. Now, I don't know how to put this thing together. That's where I get my attorney to draft it. I have the idea. I know what is it that I'm looking for. I write it initially with my own words in the contract as good as I can, but then, you know, it gets sent out either to the title company that they need to draft it, or to an attorney that knows, you know, exactly what is it that you're talking about. So for instance, you know, when I say 5% down, why do I start so low, or sometimes with nothing down? Why? Because they're going to come back and they're probably going to say, you know, not 5%, but let's do 10. Well, at least, you know, you actually started somewhere, right? Not 4% interest rate, but 5% interest rate, or 6% interest rate. You know, not 15 years, but maybe 5 years. You know, no prepay, No prepayment penalty means you can pay the loan whenever you want, and you're not going to be penalized to paying it up front, from the stipulated time. No due on sell clause. I always make sure, when possible, to always add that clause, no due on sell clause, which means you can sell the asset to whomever you want, and they cannot call the loan due, meaning the seller who sold you the property. I love that because that opens your doors immensely to be able to sell it to a wider net of buyers, okay, in the open market. And then we spoke about moving the positions of the loans, from a first position to a second position, or even changing the asset as a protection of the loan. So all of those things are obviously things that you want to think about, and not all the time you're going to be able to, include every single term of what I just spoke about. Sometimes it's going to be, some of them are going to be included, some of them are not. It will depend on the negotiation that you do with the seller. An example with the 5 unit in Merced, California, it was done with, I'll give you an example. It was done with 10% down. It was done at a 4% interest. It was interest only for 5 years, no prepayment penalty, no due on sell clause, so I can sell it whatever, whenever, and basically the loan doesn't have to be paid. I could really just move any way I want to, and it will never be called due. The loan will never be due until until the term ends, which is at the end of the 5 years. And then we can move the positions of the loans, the first to second, and the second to first, however you want to. So that's pretty cool. Moving it to a different asset, that was not included on this particular one, okay? But then there's other ones that I got the ability, or I got the term that they allow me to move it to a different asset, but maybe not the due on sell clause. So it's all open to negotiations, right? Now, if there's any questions, let me know. How does the debit gets moved, or how does the debt gets moved? The debt gets moved through, the best way to do it, Ms. Larry, is to do it by escrow. You open escrow and title like you would normally do, and you give those instructions to escrow and say, hey, listen, we want to we want to get the debt out of asset A, and we want to put asset B now as a pledge of that debt. And they know what to do. They know how to do it. So basically, that's the way I would suggest. That's the way I've I've done it. And also get your professionals involved. I've gotten my attorney involved, where I tell them, hey, listen, can you basically just draft something, an agreement that we're moving this, to this other, basically to this other asset. And that's what I give, obviously, to the title company as a, for escrow instructions and things like that. Doesn't have to, but once again, I do it just for reassurance that it needs, on how to, move or shift the debt from one asset to the other. Okay, so why would it do this? Why would it do this? Well, why move? I'll give you an example, okay? If I got $1.8 million that I'm only paying, for instance, let's just say 5% interest, why wouldn't I want to have 5% at all the millions at 5%? When, as an investor, when I'm flipping properties, or when I'm buying to renovate and resell, and I use a hard money lender or a bridge lender, I'm paying 7.5%, 8%. Sometimes even in the upwards of 8.5%. So in essence, why not have cheaper money? The way I see it is different maybe from how you see it. In my case, because I go through a lot of properties, I'm seeing you give me all the cheap money that you have. If I can pay you all day long 4%, 5%, and I will secure it by another property, because you don't get that money that easy, so cheap. You can go directly to the lender, to the local bank, and they're gonna make you cry before you get that money for that, for that rate. The rates are at around 4.75 or whatever rate may be right now, 5% or 5, but they make you go through, through a lot. So that's one of the reasons. Another reason may be that you have, like I have a lot of properties that have hard money loans on them. I just never bothered to refinance it. So, and I'm paying 10%, so once again, if you're already paying so high somewhere else, why not move that debt and cover, and pay off pretty much everybody who you're paying so high, and then, you'll end up saving big time. So there's various reasons why you would want to do that. You would want to also do that because, let's just say as an example, you want to sell the property, but then you got a prepayment penalty, so you want to move it to a different asset, so that when the loan expires or matures, or whenever the term of the prepayment penalty is gone, you want to then pay it then. So there's various reasons, and hopefully that helps you with with your question. Hello, Senor Luna. I have left a couple messages with you. Okay, another great job, friend. Okay, beautiful, excellent, Mr. Rafael. Great to see you here. Awesome. Why would I do this? Well, Ms. Lorraine, I think I answered that question. Now, any other questions that you guys may have before we wrap up here for today? So we covered a lot, ladies and gentlemen. 8 secrets that you could basically implement into your business. Now, let's get into the questions that I made at the beginning, and then we'll call it a day, all right, for us here. So, for instance, when do you ask for seller financing? And write this down, okay? When do you think you ask? When do you ask for seller financing? And the answer is all the time. Should be all the time, anytime, okay? Why is it beneficial for the seller? Many reasons. Maybe the fact that they don't want to pay capital gains. Maybe the fact that they want a stream of cash flow coming in on a monthly basis. Maybe the fact that, to them, they don't need the money. Various reasons that they exist. It could be the fact that, for them, it's more about a steady income, a steady cash flow. It could mean that, their property's in such a bad shape that it doesn't qualify for a regular loan. It could be various things. So, there's benefits obviously to the seller, and there's tremendous benefits obviously for the buyer as well. Buyer doesn't have to come up with a whole bunch of down payment for the most part, doesn't get underwritten the same way. There's, less, hoops to jump. It doesn't go on your credit. Many different benefits there, okay? So keep in mind, 100%, you will get 100% of nothing when you decide not to ask. So basically, make sure that you always ask. Doesn't mean you're always going to get it, but it's better to ask than to just, ladies and gentlemen, hello. Are you there? If you guys can hear me, let me know. We've been having some really bad connection here. So my apologies, guys. Awesome. Well, congratulations for being here still. Anyways, we've been having some really bad connection. And I was, let me just go ahead and continue. Hopefully we can just wrap it up and finish. I was sharing that identifying sellers that owns multiple properties, usually that's key for you to get, obviously, people that are looking to do seller financing. Identifying properties that are distressed, or properties that are that people have gotten through inheritance. So one of the things that we found out is, when someone is, when there's an inheritance, when a property is being inherited, usually it's free money for the trustee, or for whoever, is receiving that asset, that they tend to be a little bit more flexible. When the property is in distress, or the seller is in distress, there's a need there. Usually they become more flexible. When an owner has a lot of properties and they got to deal with capital gains and things like that, usually there's more flexibility. And when the owner has owned the properties for a longer period of time, more flexibility. So wanted to share that. And by the way, I want to finish and end with this in mind, which I know it's going to be extremely beneficial to you. All right. First and foremost, I want to thank you for, living up to this webinar, to the Real Estate Weekly Talk Show, and putting up with all this internet cutting stuff. We'll make sure, obviously, to minimize it and eliminate it next time. But I'm doing a very special event, ladies and gentlemen. And this event is nothing more than how to find freaking awesome real estate deals right in your backyard. And it's going to be a full-blown day, May 25th, from 8 in the morning. So there's going to be 2 times, 8 in the morning to 5 p.m. in a classroom style, in a very intimate way, with only 30 people, 30 students that I'm going to grab basically by the hand. And I'm going to give my blueprints of exactly where is it that I'm finding my deals. I will give you access to my vendor list. I will give you access to everything. And it's going to be geared. It's going to be a marketing intensive day. It's going to be done in a mentorship format. And what I mean by that, it's from 8 in the morning till basically 5 p.m. It's going to be very hands-on. You're going to need a computer. You're going to need a notepad. We're going to extract some lists there. We're going to create highly targeted lists there. We're going to go through different channels on how to get those deals. And I'm going to show you the possibility of this. I actually, I signed documents this morning on a Bay Area deal that has about $250,000 in profit. And he came from, direct mail. Others are coming from realtors. But see, I've never shared this level of in-depth in a mentorship style of knowledge for the very first time I'm doing it. And then the second session, it's optional session from 5 p.m. all the way to midnight. You can stay with me all the way to midnight at the hotel lobby and the restaurant, at the bar, whatever it is. The whole point is you get to ask me any question, all the questions, real estate related, whatever it is. That's the moment that I'm going to use one full day, because my mission is to empower you, to basically give you all the tools and resources. And I want to show you that you don't need money to buy real estate. What you need is courage, a decision, connections. You need courage, action, connections, belief, not even in you, but believing on what other people are already doing, that it's working. I got students, ladies and gentlemen, there's some students here on this webinar, their first deals, and you're going to get to meet them there. Their first deals are making over $100,000. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen for everybody. I'm not saying, and I'm not guaranteeing that this is going to happen to you, because I don't know if you're going to put the dedication, the commitment, the discipline. I don't know that. One thing I do know is that the knowledge, the wisdom, the blueprints, the environment that we're going to put together is going to be a life-changing environment, life-changing blueprint. If you put it to work for you, and you'll be able to see, in your life. anyways, wanted to share, there's going to be 3 bonuses. And for this, you can go to levelupnowacademy.com/seminar. levelupnowacademy.com/seminar. And I'll be able to, share it here. Maybe Omar, if you can help me share it on the chat, that would be great. There's several people here that are going to be going, like Ms. Lorraine. She signed up from the get-go. By the way, it's very limited. I opened it for 30 people. Now we got, right now I was checking, half of it is gone. So by Sunday or so, we should be completely sold out. Once it's sold, that's it. I'm closing the doors. I'm going to mentor 30 people, ladies and gentlemen, 30 people. I'm going to mentor them for 1 day. From 8 to 5 in a classroom style, from 5 to 12. You don't have to stay all the way to 12. Whenever you decide to, leave after 5, it's your choice. I want to be there for you. The 3 bonuses. Number 1, you're going to be able to use a proof of fund of $3 million. Okay, $3 million proof of funds that you're going to be, because people tell me, Raul, do I need money? How much money do I need? You don't need money. I will provide, the proof of fund from my sources that you could use. You have my permission, their permission, everybody's permission, because it's in writing, ladies and gentlemen, right? You can use that money basically to, or those proof of funds, so that so for whenever you're making offers, you're going to be able to use it. Number 2 is, if there's deals that you need help with to evaluate, we're going to be able to help you with that. All right. And I'll explain more of the details at the event. And then number 3, it'll be, we can partner on some of the deals. All right. So anyways, those are the 3 bonuses. It's a $10,000 program that very easily you could go anywhere and pay 10 grand. I'm not going to sell it to you for 9, 7, or 8, or 5, or 3, or 4. It's only $997. Now, I'll tell you this much. If you value yourself, and if you value your future, and if you value the greatness that you want out of life, make the time. You owe it to yourself to make greatness happen. Invest the $997. Trust me. Talk to Alberto, and you'll see Alberto on his first deal, over 6 figures in profit, out of what he has learned. Carlos, he's literally got his very first deal, the same thing. And we'll show you evidence. I'm not kidding. I'll show you the evidence at the event. I will show you exactly what's going on and what's happening. Anyways, one thing is certain. You're going to walk in thinking, believing, seeing, and being, the person that you've been so far. You're going to walk out with blueprints, with a system of exactly what to do on a daily basis, to measure with KPIs, everything for you to start getting sellers and getting freaking awesome deals in your pipeline. So you don't have to have the money. You don't have to have the experience. You don't have to, have everything that you believe you need to have. You need to have the connections. And in that room, the connections will happen. You need to have the courage. That's you. And invest the $997. All right. So hopefully I'll get to see you soon, May 25th. Congratulations. And we'll get to see you next Wednesday here at the Real Estate Weekly Talk Show.